We thought we got the best out of the Ravens in Christmas night when they beat up on those San Francisco 49ers. Someone should have waited a couple of days. The Ravens went ahead and stomped out the Miami Dolphins 56-19, earned themselves the AFC 1 seed and the coveted first round bye. Welcome to the Ravens Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel Njoku. Today we'll talk all about that Ravens game. The Ravens beat up on the Dolphins, which makes the rest of the regular season obsolete. Doesn't matter. We'll touch on that. We'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers game because the Ravens still have a game left. They still have the game left. We'll talk about Lamar Jackson, the MVP race. We'll have former Ravens wide receiver Mark Clayton on. He'll talk to us all about that game, all about Lamar Jackson, all about what's ahead as far as a potential Super Bowl run. But first, the Ravens do it. The Ravens accomplished a task that they haven't accomplished since 2019 when Lamar Jackson won his first MVP award. Now it's looking like he's going to win it again. And they do it again. Another first-round bye in the books for the Ravens in 2023. The Ravens do what many expected them to do. The Ravens were the favorites to beat the Dolphins. No one expected this. A 50-burger? Damn near 60 points on the Miami Dolphins defense that is coveted. Hugely, widely regarded as one of the best defenses in the AFC, if not the NFL. And they just made them look ridiculous. The Ravens have proven once again that they're the best team in the NFL. There's pretty much no denying that now. The pundits have pretty much given up. No one's out here saying the Ravens aren't good enough to win. The Ravens are the type of team that will lay an egg in the fourth quarter. All of that narrative is out the window. That's what happens when you beat on teams, the way the Ravens beat on the Dolphins. And I'm a big proponent of the Dolphins. You heard me here last week. I thought the Dolphins were a great matchup for the Ravens. I thought that Tua was going to be great when it comes to deciphering defenses post-snap. And Tua did show just that early on, but this team's too much. I mean, it's cheating. It is tough. Lamar Jackson threw 18 of 21, 5 touchdown passes, no interceptions. He looked as comfortable as I did, sitting in the couch watching. He looked like he could not be touched. He ran when he wanted to. He threw when he had to. And the receivers were in awe. And the Dolphins' defense were in awe. What a performance by the Ravens. The defense did not have Kyle Hamilton. The defense did not have Brandon Stevens. Marlon Humphrey left early with a calf injury. These guys were playing limited action against the number one scoring offense in the National Football League and held them to under 20 points. Held them to under 20 points. You can't, how are you going to beat this team? I've talked to former players, and we'll have Mark Clayton on later on. Talked to coaches, past and present, and I just asked them, how are you going to stop Lamar Jackson? And their answer has been the same. How do we stop him? The question is, how do we contain him? How do you contain Lamar Jackson at this point? The goal is to hold the Ravens to 30 points at this point. Hold the Ravens to 30 points and pray to God you have a quarterback on the other end that can put points against the best scoring defense in the league. Are you catching what I'm putting down? Are you listening to what I'm saying? How are you going to stop a team that could put up 50 points on you in any given day and hold you to under 20 points again, which is what the Ravens have done the entire season? We talk about who's going to beat the Ravens. Who's going to be the one to step up and challenge the Ravens? The Chiefs are struggling with Patrick Mahomes. The Bills may not even make the playoffs. The Dolphins just got whooped. The potential number 2 seed just got dropped in front of the entire nation. Steelers, maybe. Are they even going to win this week against the backups? The Browns, who the Ravens put 28 points on one time, they of course got a win against the Ravens early in the season, but Joe Flacco's a stationary quarterback. He's not mobile. He doesn't provide the same dangers that Deshaun Watson did. Of course, the Flacco-led Browns have a better season. They look way better offensively, but The matchup isn't there. It's not there. And in the NFC, you're talking about a 49ers team who just got whooped on, threw 5 interceptions against the Ravens. The Cowboys and Eagles, are they even for real? I mean, the only team that's going to beat the Ravens at this point are the Baltimore Ravens. That's the only team. That's the only team. They're going to beat themselves. If they lose, it's because they beat themselves. Wow. I mean, I'm speechless. I didn't even bother looking at film. There was a slight chance I wasn't even going to record today. What's there to talk about? The Ravens are the best team in the league, and everyone else is fighting for second place. Sound familiar? Sounds like Mike Florio, right? That's what he said about the 49ers. But it's hard to deny. Any given Sunday, sure, but the paper, the matchups, past games show you what this team is about. So it's very exciting times in Baltimore right now. Very exciting time for Ravens fans. And the Ravens are locked in. Which brings us to our next topic. The number 1 seed. The Ravens have it. Top seed in the AFC. It rewards your first round bye. Gone are the days when the first and second seed both get it. Nope. Only the best team in the conference gets the bye. And the Ravens were awarded that. Winning that AFC 1 seed prior to the end of the season gives you choices. Of course, you can rest the banged up guys, but people got to play. This isn't the preseason game, as Coach Harbaugh alluded to this week. There aren't 90 guys on the team. There are going to be starters that have to play. But the Ravens have the affordability, the comfort to decide who goes, when, how long they're on the field, what have you. It's a great position to be in. But the topic that a lot of Ravens fans have been talking, ringing, what's the word I'm looking for? Coming to me with on my DMs. They want to know, should the Ravens rest their starters? 2019, the Ravens were widely considered to be the best team in the league. 2019, AFC 1 seed, MVP, never seen a quarterback like Lamar Jackson before. And the Ravens lost in the divisional round. They didn't even get by their first game in the playoffs. The Tennessee Titans came into Baltimore and beat them at their own game. Derrick Henry damn near ran for 200 yards. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens could get nothing going. And the Super Bowl that seemed like a sure thing. Everyone pretty much said, oh, you can't stop the Ravens. How? Just hand in the Lombardi trophy now. And the Titans, a team that hasn't really amounted to much. No disrespect to the Tennessee Titans, but they weren't really about anything that year. Came into Baltimore and broke Ravens fans' hearts. And now fans are terrified. They're afraid it's going to happen again. Here's why you should just slow your roll a little bit. 1, 2019, the Ravens were a different team. Lamar Jackson, just getting started. The Ravens defense, middle of the pack. As you clearly saw with Derrick Henry going crazy on him. The Ravens offense, one-dimensional, purposefully one-dimensional. And that screamed to the heavens, even then, that the Ravens have got to change their philosophy. They cannot be a one-dimensional team in the postseason. Of course, the mantra is, if you can run the football and play defense, you're going to win games in the postseason. But that is not necessarily the case. You cannot just run the football. You can't. You have to be able to throw the football. It is 2023. And at that time, 2019. It took the Ravens 4 years after that butt whooping to realize, maybe we should learn how to throw the football. Maybe we should get some receivers to help Lamar out. And here we are. The Ravens won last week with Lamar's arm. He barely ran. The fear of him running the football was there, of course. The Dolphins did pretty much what the 49ers did, which is try and contain Lamar, which is, good luck with that. And he let his playmakers shine through. Zay Flowers looked great. Rashad Bateman looked fantastic. Isaiah Likely has made we didn't forget about Mark Andrews, but Ravens fans understand that if Andrews is unable to go, which according to sources, he looks like he's going to be able to, that the Ravens are okay with Likely. So, do the Ravens need to rest their starters? Absolutely. Simulate as best you can in practice. If you lose in the divisional round on January 20th or 21st because you were a little rusty, you live with that. But you cannot live with one of your best players getting hurt because you're afraid that your Ravens players will not be prepared for a playoff game in which so much is on the line. Everyone expects the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl. You cannot drop the ball because fear of rustiness instead of fear of injury, which is very real in the National Football League. Just ask the Dolphins with Bradley Chubb. With less than 3 minutes to go, down 35 points or whatever, and you have your star defensive lineman, star pass rusher on the field in garbage time, and he's tore his ACL, he's out for the season, and probably most of the 2024 season. That's what you want to do? Rest your starters. You deserve it. You've earned it. It's okay. You can take a nap. It's fine. So that's my thought process on the AFC 1 seed. Ravens get the bye, deserve it, earn it, use it. Use it. When we get back, we'll have Mark Clayton, former Ravens wide receiver who knows all about the playoffs with these Baltimore Ravens. He was here during the Steve McNair days. We talked to him all about it next on the Ravens Talk Podcast. Welcome back to the Ravens Talk Podcast. Again, we have with us former Ravens wide receiver Mark Clayton. Thanks for joining the podcast, man. Welcome back.
Man, glad to be back, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. I mean,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And Happy New Year for all the Ravens fans because the Ravens clinched up the 1 seed a week prior to the end of the regular season. It's kind of crazy. We had you here at the beginning of the season. We talked about the potential of the Ravens offense and what they could possibly do and maybe some concerns about the defense, but quite the opposite for the defense. The defense has been rolling, and our predictions were correct about the Ravens offense. They're firing on all cylinders, and it looks like Lamar Jackson may be the MVP at the end of the season. Can you give us your thoughts about how the Ravens offense has performed so far this year?
Man, exceptional. You know, like we talked about before, a big part of Lamar taking that leap was drop back passing.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, you know, Todd and everything that he's done over there to just put Lamar in position to take his game to a whole nother level and be unbelievably efficient has been, you know, mind blowing, but also not surprising because, you know, we knew like the capability he had after coming off of a actual already MVP season. So just to see it again is really fun and see what Todd has done to just really open that offense up. And, you know, these playmakers are just blossoming all over the place. You know, you got Likely showing up like crazy and Zay been, you know, making crazy plays and obviously OBJ and what he can do. And then you get Nelson in there and Kohler in there and our running backs are, you know, sadly, we're without Keaton, but our running backs have done tremendously well this year. So, man, it's been obviously fun to watch. And, you know, the hopes is that we can do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you mentioned a great point. The playmakers have blossomed. Zay Flowers is the guy that a lot of Ravens fans have come to adore. We mentioned it earlier in preseason that his partnership with OBJ was probably going to do him wonders both on and off the field. How would you assess his first year as a Ravens wide receiver? Because it looks like he's not going to play this week as they rest starters for the playoffs.
Indeed, which is smart. It's been a long season. We're pretty banged up, you know, already. So that's great. And so his first year has been a tremendous year. I think as a rookie, you want to come in and really just get in where you fit in and make some impact plays, make some big plays. Let everybody know that you're dangerous and you're the real deal. And he's certainly done that. I mean, and I think one of the best plays he had all year was, I want to say a Sunday or Monday night game, Cincinnati or so. Anyway, he caught a pass in the flat, made a guy miss, went 60 yards. 60 yards. Sick, bro. And it got called back.
I remember that.
For a good block that OBJ made, actually. Anyway, but he's done, you know, what he was supposed to do as a first round pick is come in and be explosive. And I think there's so much more that we can do with him. And I know we'll get to that. I still think he's like a Tyreek Hill type player. And I believe, you know, Ty will kind of, you know, let him grow at his pace and get him involved in that way. And at some point in his career here in Baltimore.
Yeah, and he's been so good at the little things. He's pretty much been doing what they've asked him to do, but he's done such an exceptional job of it that it's very
Yeah.
hard to believe that he's a rookie. So kudos to the Ravens offense and Todd Monken for getting those boys together. Well, we talked about Lamar Jackson. We did talk about him in the preseason. We talked about how he was going to perform and what have you, but we didn't really know whether or not he'd have an MVP season. Now that we know for sure he's the MVP of the league, can you pretty much give us your thoughts on what you believe was the reason for these other 31 teams not even trying to grab this guy? It's been a talk of discussion so far about an MVP quarterback caliber guy who was a free agent, transitioning free agent or whatever, and had an opportunity to go to another team and nobody bit at all. What are your thoughts about that?
Man, and I think is some of the concerns that everybody had in the moment at that time were valid. I mean, coming off of 2 seasons where Lamar's only played half a season, the history of quarterbacks that were that explosive with their legs and what they've done in their careers was like, yo, that's a declining trait if that's the case and that's the game that you play. So I think looking at a Cam Newton and the way his career panned out, played into obviously the way GMs are looking at quarterbacks. And I think Greg Roman, hurt Lamar in terms of having our offense be so run heavy and Lamar run heavy. That really, dinged him. So nobody was really able to see what he could do. There's always the potential, which is why everybody would say Lamar has the potential to be the best quarterback on the planet because nobody can touch his legs. And the upside in his arm talent is through the roof. And so when somebody would come in and allow this guy to drop back and throw this ball and then have defenses respect his legs off of a drop back pass, it's going to be crazy. And so, a lot of that stuff played into what I believe, other teams across the league looking at Lamar and saying like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I've seen I don't know, MVP a few years ago, but what have you done for me lately? What have you done in the playoffs? All those things, I believe, totally played into it. And, we certainly benefited. And everything that Eric did was obviously perfect. Letting Lamar hit the market, which is ballsy, but perfect, man. And we won.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's exciting. And they're great. And Lamar there's going to come a point, and I pray we win the Super Bowl this year and it'd be amazing. But there's going to come a point over the next 3 years, 4 years, maybe 3, where there's going to be a conversation because he's just playing otherworldly. And so I know the organization is going to respect him in that regard and not worried about that. But I think a lot of that was ultimately why Lamar was bypassed and skipped over when he hit the market.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, unfortunate for them, but great for the Ravens that they did that because I was in the back of my head, I was like, why the hell is this guy not even being touched? But to your point, Greg Roman really did do a number on him. His durability was an issue, and that may have scared some teams off. But gotta take a gamble, especially with some of these other teams who are looking terrible without a franchise quarterback on their roster. Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's talk about the upcoming matchup, the Ravens and the Steelers. You know more than anybody how pivotal this matchup is. It's losing a little bit of luster because the Ravens have pretty much done their seeding responsibilities. The Steelers are still fighting to get into the playoffs. But let's still get your thoughts about how vicious or maybe how respectful, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just give us a thought about how would you describe this rivalry between Pittsburgh and Baltimore?
Ferocious is like is the word, because it's two really heavyweights, two really tough organizations, two really blue collar organizations that just play hard-nosed football. We play hard on both sides of the ball all the time, and especially on defense. And our history and track record, would say that. And so, this game is the game that is where true gladiators are going at it. This is that kind of game. And so even though, I'm sure we're not going to play quite a bit of guys, but at the end of the day, I still believe with Pittsburgh offensive situation, we will probably come out with the win still. Like,
I said it on social media. No shot the Ravens lose this game, even with the backups. You're
even with the
absolutely right.
backups,
Yeah.
bro, like it's going down,
Yeah.
and Mike McDonald going to have them boys dialed up, dialed in, and I just believe we develop players really well, and we can put our scout team in, and they're going to be in position to make plays and make those plays.
Yeah.
And I know our offense, we got a Pro Bowl quarterback backup, an All Pro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Tyler Huntley. Yeah. He went to the Pro Bowl.
We got a Pro Bowl quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I have no doubt in my mind that, we're going to show up and continue to show out to close the season out.
I agree with you. I think the Ravens definitely get the win. No surprise. On my side, I said the Ravens are going to lose another game after the Browns, and they haven't so far. So big ups to the Ravens. Even their second team is doing wonders this year. Well, let's talk about the postseason. You were in the 2016. I think you guys went 13-3 that year with Stephen Nair. You guys were firing on all cylinders, and you came up short in the divisional round, and Ravens fans are nervous something similar can happen this year. Anything can happen in the playoffs, and I still think that 2016 was the best Ravens team, although the 2000 team was also good, and 2012, for my money, I just love the way you guys played on both sides of the ball. I think this was the only team other than maybe this year where the offense and defense were both firing on all cylinders. Talk about the difference in play between the regular season and the postseason, especially having a team that has to jump from regular season straight to the divisional round.
Yeah. So when you hop in the playoffs, those games are obviously totally different. Teams have a whole season, a body of work that they have to kind of scheme up, whatever game plan they're going to have offensively and defensively, even special teams. And so, we're fortunate in that we do get to jump straight to division round in terms of fresh legs, which, if taken advantage of, is an advantage.
Yeah.
Back, what was it, 06 when we got there, it was interesting that, we got there and, we got the vaunted Colts.
Yeah.
And then, our guys, and we wasn't able to find a rhythm on offense. And so, and my thoughts with where we're at, I think what we have now is a much better run game with a Lamar that, even if we're kind of slow to start and we're a little lax on certain things or whatnot, Lamar's legs will help us out and bail us out of quite a few situations. And I think our play calling is just in a whole nother space now with what Todd is doing, and he has a great feel for the game, a great feel for what's going on, and he makes adjustments based on what's happening on the field right then and there. And so I think that relationship is huge in terms of having all this time off, getting back into a game, and then finding a rhythm and figured out ways to get the ball down the field or flip the field or, obviously score the ball. But if there's a lull, if, it gets tough and grimy, I think we have that relationship between OC and our offense to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think this team they're just built to win in the postseason, in the regular season, just like the way they're definitely balanced on offense. Their running game, as you mentioned, is definitely top tier, and that passing game, as you saw last week, can definitely get it done. Let's get your thoughts on the AFC. Now, the Ravens just demolished the Dolphins, as we just mentioned. Is there a team in the AFC that you think may give the Ravens a run for their money, or is it just full speed ahead?
Honestly, man, I think Buffalo is hard. Watching how their season unfolded, they had to go through a lot. They are tried and tested, and hungry, I think. And then they have a Josh Allen who, to me, is like next to Lamar. Like he's in that realm, and relentless, with it. Like he'll do whatever it takes, to win. Like dive for 5 years. Like he's reckless in that regard. But I think those guys are in a place where they found ways to win, tough and gritty games, which you need that to get over the top. And apart from them, Kansas City, their defense has held them down, but I just don't think they have enough on the outside to get them over the top. I think we'll be able to handle them. seeing Miami again, if that was to play out in any way, shape, form, or fashion, obviously they'd have, some kind of blueprint of what happened to not allow that to happen again. But
Right.
I think we like our chances. And, sadly, they lost one of their key guys up front.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right
Bradley
now.
Chubb, yeah.
Chubb, yep, Chubb. That was a huge blow. So, man, those are, yeah, that was it. I just think we just are so fluid as a team that whatever the matchup is, we can adjust accordingly to take advantage of it.
Yes, and that's one thing I was screaming at the Ravens coaching staff on early on in the season, being able to adjust on the fly to what the defense throws at them, and they've done it to perfection, especially these last 3 or 4 weeks. So great point there. I see your Oklahoma Sooners gearing it back. It's time for the championship. I want to get your thoughts. Who do you think is going to win between Michigan and Washington?
Oh, man.
I think I know where you're going with this, but I want to get your thoughts anyway.
Man, I'm taking them Huskies, man. I'm sticking with the purple.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I'm with them.
There's a lot of Ravens fans who may not appreciate that because John Harbaugh's brother, but I like what Washington's doing. They're looking dangerous and explosive on both sides of the ball for sure. I agree with
definitely.
you. Yep. Well, thank you so much for joining us, coming back again. Let the people know at home where they can find your stuff. I know you have a business that you're working on. Tell the folks about that.
Yeah, just follow me. Everything. I'm working on a new headphone to launch this year, in the summer of this year. But follow me. Everything we're doing is underground. When we reveal it, it will be everywhere at once, and you will know all about Live Audio and what we're bringing to the market.
Oh, man, I appreciate you for coming on. I'm very excited about that. We talked off camera, but I'm definitely looking forward to your business and what you got planned for the 2024 season. So thank you so much for joining us. It's Mark Clayton, former Ravens wide receiver, definitely a big Ravens fan, big Sooners fan, and Sooners player as well. So definitely appreciate you joining us on this podcast. When we come back, we'll talk all about that Ravens-Steelers game, get my final thoughts, and then we'll look ahead to the playoffs on the Ravens Talk podcast. Welcome back to the Ravens Talk podcast. Again, that was Mark Clayton, former Ravens wide receiver. Definitely a pleasure to have him back on, and hopefully we'll have him again sometime soon. He mentioned it. The Ravens are looking good. He gave us a couple of teams, the Bills, which I agree with, can be a problem for the Ravens if they can get their act together, but there's a chance they don't even make the playoffs. There's a scenario where the Bills are either the 2 seed or out. So for Ravens fans afraid of the Bills potentially being a speed bump on the road to the Super Bowl, be on the lookout for that scenario because the Bills are dangerous. They do have a Josh Allen who's played extremely well. They just haven't been able to pull it all together. Mentally, I don't think they're there yet, and the Ravens seem to be locked in. As far as the Ravens-Steelers game, we talked about it with Mark. The Steelers aren't good. Let's just call it how we see it. I'm not going to go Mike Florio here and call them garbage and they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. I'm not going to do that because there are backups, but no. The Steelers don't have the offense. They don't have the defense to withstand the offensive philosophy that Todd Monken is in place on this team. I don't see it. Of course, if they lose, it's whatever. I'm sure Steelers fans will have a field day with it. Oh, Lamar's only beating the Steelers once. Huh? Okay. Congratulations on going one and done in the playoffs this upcoming year. Something that I do not see the Ravens doing. But yeah, I don't, no secret here. Ravens are going to win. I say 29-13 Ravens, even with Tyler Huntley, who I think is more than capable of handling the offense here. But that's pretty much it. Before I let you go, I got to talk to you about it. We mentioned it a little bit. Lamar Jackson, MVP. Teams were not able or willing to go after him. I heard Adam Schefter on the Rich Eisen show talking about how teams just did not want to bite. They did not want to bite. And Rich Eisen, to his credit, very open, saying that there are teams that thought that Lamar Jackson had an eating problem eating healthy, problem working out healthy, problems being a professional and with the team or whatever. And there have been some rumors about that. I'm not going to sit here and say Lamar Jackson's been perfect during his first few years as a Raven. There are things that the team doesn't talk about, local media doesn't talk about, that I'm going to leave alone for the most part because that has nothing to do with the guy we're seeing here. But yes, every quarterback has issues as a rookie in his rookie contract. There are things that you can say about every quarterback. And the fact that Lamar Jackson's eating habits or what have you made it into the ear of Rich Eisen and myself and others who have come into my DMs as a reporter and asked about it means that there was people in the Ravens organization letting that out to keep Lamar's value low enough for them to make an offer. That's business, baby. But I don't think that has anything to do with the reason why you don't even attempt to kick the tires on the greatest quarterback over the last 10 years, not named Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't make sense to me. Now Lamar's about to win his second MVP. Bad eating habits and all. And join a list of men who are either for sure first ballot Hall of Famers or who are already in the Hall of Fame. That's who you said you're not worth 2 first-round draft picks for. That's who you said we're not willing to give you a fully guaranteed contract, even though the likelihood of you staying for 5 years, getting all that money is very high. You're not worth that. What did Lamar respond with? A masterful season of ass whooping, the likes of which we have never seen since 2019. And really, this season, in my opinion, damn the statistics, is better than 2019 because his ability to throw the football, his ability to read defenses, his ability to fool defenses with his arm and his legs, second to none. Not Patrick, not Tom, not Marino, not Vic. No one has been able to do on the field, in my belief, what I saw from Lamar. There's only one other quarterback who I say comes close in just being masterful on the field, who just looks like he's head and shoulders above everybody else, and it's going to surprise some people. It's Aaron Rodgers, who personally I cannot stand. But in his prime, Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback I've ever seen throw the football. Better than Peyton, who I believe was just had an uncanny ability to read the entire field, offense and defense, knowing exactly where to put the ball, where to put his teammates. Better than Vic, who can dazzle you with his legs, obviously, the most dynamic player of all time, is Aaron Rodgers. His personal beliefs, I can't stand. I think he's a little smug. I think he's a little conceited and egotistical. But that damn man can throw the football. It's him, and then right underneath him, Lamar Jackson. So, congratulations, Atlanta Falcons. Congratulations, Washington Commanders. Congratulations, Browns, I guess, maybe, not really. Not going to knock the Browns. But Giants, for sure. The list can go on and on. Plenty of guys. Plenty of guys who are suffering. Panthers, you could have got them. Chose Bryce Young. How's that working out for you? Not saying he can't perform, but the sure thing, Lamar Jackson. He's probably going to win his first Super Bowl, second MVP. Just cooked the Dolphins for 5 touchdowns. Cooked the 49ers, the darling child of the NFL. 2 first-round picks. Maybe $300 million. Maybe fully guaranteed, maybe not. You turn that down because of eating habits? Because you heard a rumor that Lamar Jackson doesn't really work out the way you want him to? He works out on the football field. He destroys opposing defenses. He gives the opposing defensive coordinators nightmares. He's leading the league, I'm sure, in jersey sales right now. At least top 3. He's raising ticket prices for the Ravens in the offseason. Guarantee it. That's the guy you turned your back on because of eating habits. That's the guy you turned your back on because you're afraid of another fully guaranteed contract, even though the Browns gave their quarterback a fully guaranteed contract, and oop, he's out for the season. Oop, you bring in Joe Flacco. Oop, they're still in the playoffs. Fully guaranteed, not fully guaranteed. Your job as a GM is to get the best players on the field. Your job as a coach to get the most out of your players and win the game. So That's my 2 cents. Did not like that conversation between Rich Eisen and Adam Schefter. 2 guys that I like a lot, actually. Really like Rich Eisen, and definitely respect Adam Schefter for what he does, I should say. But that notion that Lamar Jackson doesn't deserve a contract because he has some sort of problem eating or working out or paying attention in class or whatever these rumors are. I mean, I heard a lot of it during the offseason that I'm not going to share because what's the point? None of that matters. The boy's the MVP. He's still winning. He wants to win more than anybody. He's dialed in, locked in, focused. He's going to get the job done. And you turned your back on him because the first round draft picks that you always flop on, and you bottom feeders who are going to pick first, second, and third, you know who you are. Those picks don't work out for you. So just give them to the Ravens and get yourself a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback. No, well, your loss, Ravens game. That's my little spiel, and that is going to do it for us here at the Ravens Talk Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Ravens are going to the Super Bowl, baby. I told you. First stop, Pittsburgh. Beat them down, take a break, and let their mess sort itself out, and let them come to Baltimore and most likely get their ass beat. That's going to do it for us here at the Ravens Talk Podcast. We'll see you next week.